Hello and welcome to How to Lead Your Business with Peter Cox. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. How will you lead them? Join us for this podcast where we dive deep into business leadership. This is the podcast where business owners and entrepreneurs learn how to grow their leadership to unlock business and personal growth, empower teams, and drive success. Whether you're a startup or scaling to the next level, we've got the insights, the strategies, the intellectual property you need to grow in leadership, to fuel your team and fuel your business to go to the next level. Let's get into this. Hello and welcome back to the How to Lead Your Business podcast with Coxie. Today we're privileged to have Jason O'Hagan with us. Jason's career is a testament to the power of strategic leadership. From his impactful tenure at Bunnings Australia to his current role as Managing Director at WeatherTech as a stakeholder, where he's driven remarkable global expansion. We'll be exploring the key principles that have guided his leadership success, building trust, fostering a winning culture, and navigating the complexities of growth. Jason is an absolute powerhouse and formidable leader who's incredibly down to earth and somebody you'll enjoy listening to. Prepare yourself for an insightful and powerful leadership conversation that will equip you with the tools to elevate your leadership and drive your business forward as you listen to a born leader who has influenced the direction of two significant businesses. Well, good morning, wherever you are in the beautiful planet Earth. I'm here with a very special businessman from Queensland, Managing Director of WeatherTech, Jason O'Hagan. What a winner you are, Jason.
Well, thanks for the inspirational words such on an early Monday morning, Coxie. Very beautiful.
Beautiful Monday morning. We've got people coming in early in the morning, late at night in Europe, Jason. And I'm really looking forward to this podcast interview with a very successful leader, entrepreneur, businessman, interim general manager of Bunnings. If you don't know what Bunnings is, it's a company in Australia. And Jason was got to general manager there over a 12-year period, I think it was, Jason.
Yeah.
And then in 2012, you became a stakeholder in WeatherTech.
Yeah, it was I was very fortunate to spend the time with Bunnings because they're such a successful organisation, big box retailer who's really come in and been extremely successful and continues to be successful. So, the emphasis and focus that Bunnings put on people and training was exceptional. And it certainly was a really great grounding to move into when I did with WeatherTech.
And for the listeners in Europe that don't know much about Bunnings, how many people were you leading? How many staff were in that organisation?
Well, back then there was, it's hundreds, literally, because we were around the country into New Zealand. There was many sales reps, sales managers, so it was literally hundreds of people, but then obviously a layer of management team in between that. And obviously that was all about leadership, which is what we're talking about today, and how we can inspire people and build trust and manage the strategy versus driving the right type of culture, which is exceptionally important.
And in 2012, you came into WeatherTech and you've made it into a sales and marketing powerhouse, taking that business globally into how many countries?
We're exporting to 16 countries around the world, and it's a sort of smaller percentage of our business, but it's a good balance. We try and keep a 10 or 15% mix in the business. But, fundamentally, it's Australian supplied and then 16 countries around the world as we continue. And we try and find a model where is a timber and hardware merchant in a country that's selling building materials, and we just give them WeatherTech and they add that onto their suite of products and take that into the marketplace. And
could you give a quick 2-minute description of how you make the product? Because I had the good fortune to go to your head office there in the Hunter region, and it was pretty mind-blowing walking around that factory.
It's, and for those who want to have a look at weathertech.com.au on our website, and we've got a number of videos on there, and one of the videos that we have on there is a 6-minute manufacturing video. So it takes you through in 6 minutes from the logs arriving to the finished product. Essentially, we buy logs that they leave on the forest floor, and we throw them through a chipper and chip them down into bark-like format, and then put it through a mason gun, explode it and into a tobacco-like format, put it through the presses, and then turn them into panels and planks. So Yeah, it's a process similar to making paper, except obviously we're making external timber cladding, planks and panels that has a 25-year warranty for the outside of dwellings.
And tell us a little bit about your story, like where you grew up and how did you end up where you are today? Tell us a bit about your journey.
Yeah, it's an interesting journey. I grew up in a fairly blue-collar area, a place called Inala in Brisbane, and so that was an interesting journey as a young person. But then finished grade 12, didn't get a score that enabled me to get into university to do a degree. So I had to go out and try and look for a job, and I found a job as a pallet clerk with a company called Besser Masonry, Besser Blocks. And I remember when I got that job, it's funny how your mindset and what you think. I got the job and I thought, I made it now. I'm cool. I've got a job, get some income. Then I decided I needed to do something. So I went and did a diploma of business management part-time, 2 nights a week. And so even a 19-year-old, for some unknown reason, I had this mindset where I had to create the disciplines around 2 nights a week, being a young man, going out, getting on the drink and partying. But I still needed to have those disciplines of 2 nights a week to turn up to complete this diploma, which went over a 5-year period, which I managed to get done. But, and it comes back again, what you really believe in your own mind becomes reality. And if you think about everything you've done in your lives and people listening today, the things that you have been successful with, you really believe that you were going to do it. The things that you had an element of doubt about, you don't possibly necessarily accomplish. But anyway, so I got that job. Then as a sales rep job became available in the business, which I had to apply for. And I had to go through an interview. I remember turning up to my pallet clerk's job with my suit in the background and put my suit on and went to the interview. And I remember clearly the boss saying to me, "You got yourself a gig, only because no one externally or internally is good enough to get the job. You've got 3 months. And if you don't do any good in the job as a sales rep, you won't have a job back here as a pallet clerk." And then he went along to say, "I just want to let you know also, Jason, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, and you're bordering on the line of arrogance." And I've gone to myself, what the hell? I've come from this very blue-collar surroundings. How can I be arrogant? I'm not arrogant. But I never forget. Anyway, I didn't even think about you haven't got a job in 3 months. My fantastic. Now I've got a company car, a 20-year-old, petrol and fully maintained vehicle. I'm just going to be successful. Didn't even enter my mind to think if I wasn't. So anyway, so I did that and sales rep there, went overseas for a few years and came back and got back in the building industry, mid-20s, and managed to get a job as a state manager with BBC, which then became Bunnings, and very fortunate enough to spend 14 years with Bunnings, which is an amazing company. And a great strategy, great culture, and great leadership.
You used the word mindset. How important is mindset becoming successful in life and in business, Jason? Because for people that don't know you, I know you're a very successful entrepreneur, businessman, very humble, great heart, but your mindset, that's what attracted you and I together, is the way we think. How important is mindset for success?
Yeah, it's exceptionally important, and we try and at WeatherTech's here, I was fortunate enough, Paul Michael, the chairman, who we work exceptionally close with, and he acquired the business 30 years ago. And we're different individuals in terms of, he's an engineer and my background, but we get along exceptionally well because we have the same sort of mindset. Mm-hmm. Classic case of some of the things that Paul talks about is the half glass full nature, but growth mindset particularly is what we focus on here, or one of the areas, and where you're wired to learn and adapt and overcome things and be resilient and be consistent in your thinkings. And it's exceptionally important, I believe, to have that mindset to continue the growth and be successful.
Your thoughts will determine your destiny. Regarding mindset, how do you grow your mindset? What keeps you going? I mean, you could retire, you could play golf every day, but you keep going, you keep leading, you keep growing. Why?
Yep. Well, have to enjoy it, don't you? It's part, and have it. What's your purpose and what do you want to do? And I think understanding the true north or your purpose of what you're here or what you want to do is most important. And part of the purpose for myself is, wanting to see people be successful, take people on the journey, inspire them to want to be better, and seeing success happens in the teams and being part to sit back and watch people shine, and motivate and empower the team to win, and then sitting back and watching them win. And we've continued to have success here at WeatherTech over the 13 years I've been here. Our growth continues both internationally and domestically. So the mindset is about winning and people, managing people and leading and inspiring and motivating them to be successful, and then watching them win championships, call it that for the better word from a sporting terminology. That's really, I love it.
Since you became managing director of WeatherTech, how much growth has the business experienced under your leadership?
Oh, we've in top line revenue terms, we're 3 times the revenue since we started. We continually we have good margins. We've got a great people, 150 people, and what's important, it's one team working together to make it happen. So we've got a manufacturing organisation. We've got a number of people in the factory who do a fantastic job in producing quality product efficiently and effectively. We have a national marketing team. We have a customer support team, and F&A, finance and admin in the office, and then sales managers who run our BDMs around the country. So it's one team working together is significantly important, because manufacturing and sales tend to, there's always a difference there, but people being on the same page and being aligned, and most importantly, leadership. For us, it's not, you don't have to have people reporting to you. Everyone's a leader in our business, no matter what role they play, from the bottom to the top. And how people can be influential in their role in the factory, from a BDM's perspective, from our customer support perspective, safety, marketing, etc. Everyone's a leader in our business, and everyone contributes to the success of WeatherTech.
The leadership event that I did with you 3 years in August, believe it or not, I can't believe that's 3 years. It became very evident to me how much you love your people, you care for your people, you're investing in your people. How important is it to grow people in a business, to grow a business? It's
essential. We obviously, growing a business is about people and getting the right people, and also about balancing your strategy with your culture. It can't be all about strategy, or you won't have good culture, and you can't also focus all on about culture, because then you won't have a good strategy. So it's balancing the strategy and the culture, providing autonomy for the team to be successful, and to have that belief that they can go out and execute the strategies that we've got in place themselves, and having that winning strategy. So Paul Michael, that is, he says one thing many times, you treat people how you want to be treated, and guess what? They'll treat you back the same way. So it's, people's important, and leadership's about trust, Coxie, as you know. It's about the influence, isn't it? And setting standards through your own actions. It's about trust, and have an unshakable trust with your people, that they believe what you say, inspire them to be better, and it's about actions and consistency.
And only with trust can you get engagement. If people don't trust the leader, they won't become engaged. They won't take ownership of their role. And that's a very important thing you've just shared there, the importance of leaders. Effective leaders know how to grow trust. And every single day you've got to earn and re-earn trust as a leader. Just as someone trusts you today doesn't mean they trust you tomorrow.
It's, I've used words regularly now, which is true, about actions, and leadership is about through actions, not orders. And it's about care and building that trust and showing up each time and bringing a positive energy and being resilient, because, shit happens and you've got to back up and, okay, next day's a new day. How do we move forward? And making sure your team's with you on the way. No shortcuts, no half measures, and having a strong work ethic that people can see.
And what's been some of the biggest challenges you've had to deal with to triple the size of the WeatherTech business?
Well, I think the people is one of them, because with growth comes, you have to add a lot of people to your business. So recruiting and retaining the people is important. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. Success comes from what you do consistently. So, one team growing together, getting the right people around, having the right strategy that's clear and succinct for everyone to understand, and then getting both parts of our business, manufacturing and sales, marketing, etc., working together and having ensuring that they're clear on what our strategy is, and then setting the standards and actions that we need to move forward. Executing a strategy is essential. Then driving the culture to execute the strategy is ultimately just as important as well.
Mm-hmm. And what are the top three things you've done to drive the growth of WeatherTech as the MD, as the leader, and key behaviours as the leader?
Yeah, it's as I talked about before, it's the one team. What the biggest thing for us here was we have a fantastic product. It was about getting that out into the marketplace and people understanding the key features and benefits of the WeatherTech product. And we had to do that by investing in a lot of people up front before we could actually measure our success. So there was a whole heap of reasons around creating demand for our product and how the BDMs would go out there, and their job is creating demand, talking to people that want to use WeatherTech. Then we pull it back up through the supply chain, and then developing that strategy and executing it. One team working together, creating that trust with the people that we believe that we can be successful. And we're a small cladding manufacturer in terms of what our competitors are. Our competitors are large international businesses, corporates, who have deep pockets and can flex them if required. So we're a small, humble, Australian-owned manufacturer out there, growing our market share up against some pretty big juggernauts in the industry.
And you've been travelling to the United Emirates, so you're starting to do business in that part of the world. What's the biggest lesson you're learning from doing business in that type of region?
Well, one of the biggest ones, funny enough, it's about all what I just said, but one of the biggest ones that keep is relationships, and developing the trust of these people that meet with you. And it's integral over there. People want to deal with people, and it's all about trust and relationships over a period of time. And you can't fly in and fly out and have sort of hit and run mission. It's over a period of time that people get to know you and they trust you, and you build those relationships. And that's a big thing I've found over there, and particularly in Saudi and Dubai. It's taken us a long time. We've been at this in Dubai, in that particular region now for 10 years, and we're getting success. It's slow, but it takes a long time because you've got to get to meet people and they've got to trust you and build those relationships. So that's, we've got the product, we've got the features and benefits, we've got a quality product that is being used over in those regions. But that's the biggest one I've found.
Mm-hmm. Great advice. So what is leadership to you?
Well, leadership a bit was what we spoke about before. It's it's all about trust, Coxie, and you can be at the bottom of an organisation chart and still be a leader. And we really talk about that. It's an action, and how you develop you show your actions, how you show up every day. It's about trust, about influence, setting standards through your actions, and that's you demonstrate that, and people see it. Authenticity is another key part of it. You talk about authentic leadership and people putting on different masks for different people, or talk to one person and have a mask on and then another mask for another one. So authenticity is a key part of it, and working with all people in your organisation. People can see authenticity and know the real person and the trust and the care that you have. So that's a critical part, the authenticity. Sorry.
The way you're sharing is quite obvious to me that you really do care for people. As Roosevelt said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. How important is the care factor of leading a team? Well,
this thing about emotional intelligence has become a bit of a buzzword in the last few years. You have the IQ and then you have the emotional intelligence. And, some people have a little laugh when they talk about Jason O'Hagan's EQ. But deep down, you have to have that element of care around people. And it's about that fine line of driving an agenda and delivering results and executing a strategy while caring and wanting people to be successful, but having genuine care about their success as well as their personal, and understanding who they are and having the conversations that's not just about business, but the conversations around the people and the families of those people, and understanding what goes on outside of work and and demonstrating that. So, we've got a fantastic culture here, I believe, at WeatherTech. It's, the old saying, work hard, play hard. So it's ensuring you have an element of fun. Celebrating successes is so important, and acknowledging people's efforts in the success they've got. And then celebrating and acknowledging the successes across the business is really, really important. And having fun and celebrating that success, which we're known to do and we do, but that's critically important. You can't work hard and not have some fun. So celebrating successes, having fun, really important.
And do you think I've got emotional intelligence when you were struggling on the front nine, Jason, at the Grand, and you start becoming muttly and I sort of put my arm around you and lift you for the back nine?
Well, yeah, some degrees, yes. But when you start pretending to talk like Muttley, I don't know how that goes down. But
okay.
No, your support is encouraging, Coxie. Yeah.
Yes. What do you, if I'm meeting you for the first time, what's a piece of advice you'd give me to grow myself to become an effective leader?
Well, I think first of all, you need to make sure that you understand yourself and what your true purpose is and what you're here for, and how you want to develop people, and the actions that you want to put in place and how you spend time. Being present in the conversations is important. A lot of people don't necessarily know how to listen, and they're just thinking about what they're going to say next time in the next part of the conversation. So it's about listening and being present in those conversations, and being seen to be genuinely wanting to play a part in their career development, and working with the guys and girls, and being humble and grounded is another key part. Authentic. I mentioned before, authenticity and authentic leadership, but staying humble and grounded along the journey of success is really, really critical.
Yes, and for people that are on this live event now, or you're listening to this podcast, Jason O'Hagan is a very humble, successful businessman and entrepreneur. Much, much more successful than you may realise listening to this right now. I'm very honoured to have him take time from his busy schedule. He flew down to his head office from the Gold Coast in Newcastle last night to do this interview. He's got 150 staff there in the office right there at WeatherTech, which I've been to. And you are listening to a born leader. There are 4 types of leaders. There are non-leaders, there are learned leaders, there are natural leaders, and there are born leaders. And I've got absolutely zero doubt that Jason O'Hagan, what he's done with his life and what he continues to do today, is a born leader. How much has allowing yourself to be led contributed to your success? Like, you would have had mentors or getting advice from people like Paul, for example, your chairman.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's, you look back at the leaders and the mentors you've had in your career and in my career. And for myself, I've had many, but I think what I've done is you watch and observe other leaders and other mentors, and I've deliberately taken bits and pieces out of all those people and looked at the things that really inspired and motivated me and how I would like to be as a leader, and taking snippets from individuals and trying to put that all together. The learnings you get from that, and then in your mindset, how you apply that and how you treat people accordingly. There's some things about people. Good times create weak people. Weak people create hard times. Hard times create strong people, and then strong people create good times. And
wow. Can you say that again, Jason?
Good times create weak people. Weak people create hard times. Hard times create strong people, and strong people create good times.
Brilliant. And,
those, being resilient, being consistent, when you've got good times, it's easier to get successful. When you're successful, pat yourself on the back and everyone's excited and happy, and because it's, things are going really well. But then weak people can create hard times as well, because they become not humble or not grounded, and become maybe a little bit arrogant. But then the hard times is where it creates strong people. It's that resilience and being able to adapt to change and understand that things are going to be a bit tough for a bit, and we've got to dig in. And, the market right now is a bit like that. It's the building approvals in Australia are down, and it's across the country, cost of living, there's a housing crisis, a whole heap of things. So it's not necessarily really buoyant at the moment. So these hard times are going to create the strong people, because we have to get in and get dirty, and we have to be more resilient, and we have to manage our costs and be more efficient in what we do with our time and how we target new business and get the growth in a declining marketplace. And then the strong people come out of it, and then good times follow, because the markets do turn in every market and every business we're in. And then when the times turn, strong people will create those great times, and you're back in that cycle. But yeah, those 4 little things are really critical, and they're so true if you think about the words that they used. Because you see on good times people get excited, but then the hard times come, and sometimes a lot of people aren't used to dealing with it. How do we behave in hard times? You've got to be different. You've got to adapt to change. You have to be resilient, and very important.
Really good what you just shared there with our listeners there. And what are you doing right now to grow your culture?
Well, we meet the teams meet one-on-one regularly every month, the sales managers. The factories meet every morning. We share information, which is very important in a whole facets of our business. So that safety, marketing, everything gets shared amongst everybody. Celebrating successes, particularly in the times we're in right now, is even more important. And it could be just this, it's a small little things, the effectiveness of how we're running the factory last week, how we're improving our scrap, for example, and our waste. A BDM being successful in acquiring new business or new customers. Our initiatives from our marketing perspective and our new websites and our webinars and our CPD presentations and customer support, finance and admin. So driving and being consistent in that type of behaviour drives the right culture. And, we get together as a team, a total team once a year, which is what you attended to 3 years ago. And again, keeping that same one team working together and one team growing together to make it happen. Because as I mentioned before, every cog in the chain is essential for our success. From the guys chipping the logs in the factory to the BDMs outside, our customer support team, etc. Everyone's a leader, and the role that they play is essential to our success.
You've used the word consistency or being consistent as a leader probably half a dozen times today.
Yeah.
My journey in life, I found out that most people are inconsistent. That's what they're consistent at being, inconsistent. Why is consistency so important to succeed and become an effective leader?
It's probably the key part, because, you focus on a strategy, you agree on a strategy, all those things I just mentioned about how you drive culture, but and authenticity. And if you're not consistent in your actions, it's very transparent. People see. So, the other thing, which is, if you're unable to get comfortable being uncomfortable, it's very unlikely that you'll succeed. So it's about being in uncomfortable scenarios, uncomfortable moments, because that's where things happen. People get in uncomfortable scenarios. Some people aren't unable to get comfortable being uncomfortable because they like staying in the lane and not putting themselves in positions that could be uncomfortable. But that being uncomfortable creates challenges and creates success and along the way. So, putting yourself in uncomfortable scenarios is critical, because you work through them and you get to the other side and you feel good about it, and people grow. That's where growth happens.
Yes, and what I share with the people I lead is success will come at your inconvenience, not your convenience, which means if it's inconvenient, it means you're a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's
really... It's funny that, isn't it? There are a lot of people who are not comfortable being uncomfortable. And, how do we help and lead people to get to that space? Because there's a lot of uncomfortable scenarios on a daily basis that's confronted with you, no matter what role you're in.
Brilliant. What's the biggest personal change you've implemented in your own life? Like, I've known you now for 4 years, and I've watched you become a better version of yourself. I quietly watch how well you handle people when they bring you burnt chips, Jason. You know what I mean? How calm you are with those scenarios.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So, What's
and
the
how I
biggest
observe.
first?
Yeah,
Hey?
I just have to sit back and observe those sort of scenarios and not say much. I think that's where the humble groundness comes in.
Right. So what's some big changes you've made personally to get to the top of your craft?
Well, I think work-life balance is probably, if I had to pick one, and how you manage that. It's so important because we all love working. Some people can't manage that balance, but the family life, your hobbies outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make sure you balance that enough where you've got time with family, friends, hobbies, whatever that happens to be, whilst keep driving a business and being successful and doing that side of things. So I think that's, if I had to pick one, that would be that I'll focus more on as I've got older, and understanding the importance of having that balance. I know early on in my life it wasn't like that. It was very focused on work, and you tend to neglect the important things. Well, I did anyway, in life. Not neglect it, but you don't put the emphasis on the importance of spending quality time. And I guess getting back to it, being present and being in the moment with your family and friends. You watch so many people who you might be talking to and they're on their phone, or they're talking to you, but they're doing something there or writing something down. But being present, and people can tell when you're present when you're having a conversation. It's like we're talking to each other, looking at each other. We're both present and we're in the moment doing what we're doing now. Really critical thing, because a lot of people don't know how to do that, and it's a discipline in itself to be able to sit down and let people talk and listen. But yeah, the work-life balance I think is probably the most important personal change that I've implemented over the last number of years.
Yeah, I call that the me time, Jason. You've got to have me time just for you, and that's going to help you grow a resilient mindset. And you've definitely got a very resilient mind. And if what you're hearing, the advice you're getting there about having your me time, being quality time, being present, is such an important part of success. Absolutely no doubt about it. Three key lessons you've learned during your time in business that you could share with people. 3 key lessons if you want to grow a successful business, what's 3 key lessons you've learned?
Well, I think one of them is what I mentioned before about, good times create weak people, weak times create hard times, weak people, create hard times, and hard times create strong people, and strong people create good times. So that's one. The other one is, you train people well enough so they can leave, and treat them well enough that they don't want to. So, train people well enough so they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't want to. And we've also, about recruiting the best people we can find in that role. That drives the culture, and it's about people and the right type of people. And the other one is about being comfortable about being uncomfortable, and challenging yourself, pushing the barrow, aiming high, and really believing in your own mind that will become reality if you have a good strategy, good people, and strong culture.
How do you keep yourself going? You're in the top 1% of this country, right? What makes you wake up and bounce out of bed?
Trying to get a lower handicap. That's the other thing. I really believe in my own mind I'm going to get a lower handicap. It just hasn't happened yet. So maybe that's the percentage where I'm not going to happen in my life. But, I had a little joke with people. You look yourself. I talk to myself in the mirror, so people look at me sometimes when I tell them the story. Say, he is really a bit whacked, isn't he? Who looks in the mirror and talks to themselves? Jace, you're looking okay today. Oh, thanks, mate. But just being happy, having fun, it's the most important part. It's people get too serious and get caught up in the what's the word? Get caught up in the one stuff that doesn't really matter. So, let's focus on what you can do to get along with the day. Don't get caught up in the small shit. Focus on the big things. Have fun along the way. Have a bit of a laugh. Don't treat yourself so seriously or everything. Have a bit of a laugh and a fun. I think that's what keeps me going. I enjoy seeing success with people. I enjoy seeing people winning and teams winning, and that really that does motivate me. That's what gets me going every time, and being successful and seeing, aspiring to where we want to be this year in 5 years' time, and then creating that vision where we need to be doing this to get to here, and then ticking that off year by year is really important. Sometimes even having a little mud map near your computer, or some sort of words or picture or whatever it might be that visualizes you're on the right path. Is really important as well.
And how important is it for a business owner to have a clear vision?
Oh, it's important because you need to share that with the teams, and the teams need to understand what the vision is and how do we actually get there, and be clear on the strategy. But what's important about the strategy, and each year could change when you set your budgets. Every business wants to grow. Sometimes in the current environment, for example, you're not going to grow at the rate you're going. You would want to, due to economical, climate conditions, etc. So it's about setting those targets for the teams as well that's achievable, because everyone wants to be successful. There's no point wanting to get a 30% growth in the business when, for example, building approvals are declining by 10 or 15%, because the team, that's not a realistic goal, and they will see that as not a realistic goal. So they don't necessarily will go out hungry to achieve their numbers, because they just can't see it at the end. So setting realistic goals that people can get their incentive and bonuses in the current marketplace is really important for everybody. And then celebrate those successes, because the markets turn no matter what industry you're in, and there's good times and bad times. So it's managing in between.
And you mentioned the word hunger. How important it is to have hunger to succeed.
Yeah, right? Well, achievable targets, like I said, but aggressive is some word to use, but hunger, wanting to go out and get up every day and understand, how do I actually achieve the activities we want to do. And we talk about, with WeatherTech's, the HPAs, so high payoff activities, and then LPAs, the low payoff activities. So how are we continually every day focused on the high payoff activities as an individual and as a team across all aspects of our business? And how do we eliminate as much as possible the low payoff activities? And then what are those low payoff activities, and how are we focused on eliminating them from our daily activity and focusing on the high payoff activities that can deliver value and for the business and growth?
So I'm creating a business plan at the moment for leadership dynamics for the next 5 years, and critical success factors. There are certain things that are critical that must happen.
Yep.
Right. From a leadership perspective, if you were measuring a leader, what it is absolutely critical as a leader that you have these 4 or 5 behaviours. What would you say to that?
It's different aspects. Well, authenticity, trust, and honesty is integral. And we talked about leadership before, about it's built on trust, and an unshakable trust that you have with yourself and with the team.
Yep.
Then all those aspects of driving a strategy and a culture. So having that balance around the right strategy while driving the culture. So having them balanced out particularly, and working on both of them, not just focusing only on strategy and not just focusing only on culture, is a key part of it.
Excellent. To wrap up today, Jason, is there anything else you'd like to share with the people that are on this podcast today?
No, I think most importantly, having, as I said before, have a clear strategy and a plan. It's integral, and then measuring those plans while recruiting and driving the best people, inspiring them to be better, celebrating successes, and letting people lead their own teams and be leaders in their own right. Treat people the way you expect to be treated by people. And, we're meant to manage things, not people. People are meant to be led. So how do you inspire, motivate, empower your team to win championships, and then step back and watch the team shine from the success that they've delivered?
It's becoming quite evident during this discussion with you about leadership that you're not a micromanager. You don't micromanage.
No, and it's one of the things I've changed over probably the last 10 or 15 years, but, not that I was a micromanager, but I tend to be a little bit more prescriptive. But, Yeah, I think you have to give people autonomy, and if you're recruiting and building the best team, which we have got across all aspects of our business, you have to give people autonomy to go out and implement their own management style, their own leadership style, and to take people along their journey. So I think it's very important that give people autonomy to go and do their thing and create their own success as well.
And what are your plans for the future for WeatherTech? Like, where do you see your business going now?
Because of our sustainability nature, 97% timber, 3% wax, better than zero carbon footprint, sustainable building products is continually growing. And that buzzword about sustainability is important. So, we use some of the terms, we're a sustainable cladding solution at no extra cost. And for those, there's a little panel here, and for those who are around the world, if you've got there's our natural raw board. So how beautiful is that? Raw timber. Just thought I'd throw that in for people who are maybe interested in cladding. Growth will continue, particularly we've got a lot of countries around the world that we're looking at to continue our growth. In Australia, we're still got a very, very small market share of a big industry. So we just want to keep growing every year, keep adding to people, driving our culture, driving our strategy, and having fun along the way.
And are you not involved in the new city that's going to be built in Dubai or in?
Yeah, well, it's a line or NEOM, and it's called the Line, which is getting built in Saudi Arabia, and it's 150 kilometres long, 200 metres wide, and then it just goes up in the sky, high rise. So no cars, and it's just trains. And so it's very futuristic, obviously. And we've supplied a lot of material to the construction camps they're building over there at the current time.
And that's started. They've started building that, have they?
That's underway. That's wow. So extremely futuristic. And those, the Crown Prince in Saudi has a plan for 2030 on how Saudi's just going to develop into this next Dubai. They've won the World Cup, Soccer World Cup. And believe it or not, when I tell people, they're actually, I don't know what year it is, but they've been successful in winning the Winter Olympics. And I know most people think of Saudi as torching temperatures, which it is. But in winter, I was only over there a month ago, and it was like 3 degrees at nighttime, freezing. So up further north, I think it snows. So,
right.
So Saudi have won the Winter Olympics, which I think is in about, 2 or 3 Olympics time.
Well, this has been a incredible time with Managing Director of WeatherTech, Jason O'Hagan. I'm very fortunate to have the influential, born and natural leaders that I get to ask these specific questions to that are winners in business and winners in life. Got absolutely no doubt that you're going to be able to implement some of the thought leadership that Jason's brought to you. And just a final question to Jason. One last thing you'd share with people right now to wrap this up, Jason, what would you say?
Be authentic in everything you do. Leadership, yourself as a parent, brother, sister, friend, and build trust. Authenticity is so key. Be humble and grounded, be authentic and build trust.
First, you must lead yourself before you lead others. That's what he's saying. Get yourself right and be the real deal. Well, thanks for your time, Jason. Know you're a busy man and look forward to catching up with you on the golf course.
Thanks, Coxie. Have a good day, everyone.
Take care. That's a wrap for today. Until next time, check out our online high-performance team masterclass. It's got everyone talking. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people are using that online program now to lead their teams more effectively and to create a high-performance environment. There's no assignments, no exams. It's packed full of practical strategies and resources to help you build and grow the right team in a thriving culture to drive your business forward with you. Go to leadershipdynamics.com.au for all the details. If you found value in today's episode, subscribe, leave us a review, share it with your network. I'm sharing a lot of my leadership journey, and I know it'll make a difference in your life to achieve the vision and the dreams that you have for your business and your life. Keep climbing.